the first question. What did your diagnostic process look like? What has been the most challenging thing during that time?
So my diagnostic process was quite sudden because I had a cardiac arrest at home, and that led to my hypoxic brain injury. So when I was in hospital, they ran loads of tests on me and then discovered I've got a heart condition called ARVC that we didn't know I had.
You go to the gym a lot, and you also helped in creating the podcast Equal To, which also covered the topic of sport. What does sport mean to you? Has it somehow affected your relationship with yourself or your disability?
Yeah, so I go to the gym quite a lot, I say. I try and go 3 times a week, or currently I'm doing an aerial class on Wednesday, so I go twice a week. I wouldn't really describe myself as a sporty person. Before I became disabled, I didn't go to the gym, but I really like going to the gym now. It gives me a real sense of achievement, and it always makes me feel better about myself. And yeah, I find it a really good coping mechanism for what's happened to me since I became disabled. I worked on a podcast called Equal To Achieving Disability Equality, and it came out around the Paralympics in 2021, but it's not really about sport. If you listen to the episodes, it's about how we can use that kind of time where everyone's really interested in disability to be more of a platform for talking about other issues that disabled people. I think when you become disabled, it can be very easy to be critical of yourself and your body and how it works, and I find going to the gym really helps me with that and makes me feel better about myself and shows me what I can achieve.
Which one of the jobs you do, like writing, producing, modeling, creating content online, is your favorite and why? Is it somehow influenced or connected to your disability? And if so, how?
I do have quite a few jobs, so I'm a freelance producer and journalist, and I also make content like this. But don't know if I call this part of my job. It's just something that I like to do to raise awareness of what it's like to live with a disability. I think I'd probably pick being a producer as my favourite job. It's the one that I've been doing the most, so it's the one that I'm most comfortable with. But my main goal is just to raise awareness of what it's like to live with a disability. You know, I don't really mind in which way I do that, whether it's writing, whether it's making videos like this, whether it's working on all the different kinds of things I've produced, because I tend to work on projects that relate to disability than any other projects.
A person using mobility aids, but also as a person with a disability who attends the gym. What does the term accessibility mean to you? Are some places more accessible than the others?
I'm not really sure what the term accessibility means to me. I mean, there's the obvious, making things wheelchair accessible, but I think people think like that's the top end here, but really that's like the base level of stuff you can do to help with accessibility, you know. There are many other things that need to happen to make a place fully accessible, stuff like letting guide dogs in and, you know, having the signs in Braille. So it's not all about wheelchair accessibility. There's other things that need to happen to make things more accessible. There are definitely some places that are more accessible than others. So as I've mentioned, I love to go to the gym, try and go as much as I can, but there's a time last year where one of the lifts in the gym broke, and so I was using the other lift, but then that broke too, so I wasn't able to go to the gym for at least a couple of weeks, if not a month, and that I found that really frustrating because it didn't affect any of the non-disabled people that were going to the gym. It only affected me and other disabled people who wanted to go to the gym. And I just find it really unfair when situations like that happen because they're really easily avoidable, you know. It doesn't have to be like this. There's a simple solution. Just make sure the test work. It can't be that hard, can it?
The last question. What do you think is the most important thing to talk about while discussing disability? What is something people often forget about? What do you wish to see more in the media?
I think when discussing disabilities and disabled people, it's really important to acknowledge that nobody's experience is the same. So you can talk to me and you can talk to another wheelchair user and we could have completely different opinions on things. And there's such a wide range of disabilities, you know, there's all kinds of disabilities. So I feel often people lump disabled people all together, but there are many reasons why we're different, and the things that we want and the things we're asking for are very different as well to help us live our lives better. I would obviously love to see more disabled representation in the media. I think that's really important, and that's something that I try to do in my job day to day, is make sure that I'm working with other disabled people. It's not just me working alone on the project about disability. I also think it's really important to have people working at all levels on staff, so not only at a junior level, at a senior level as well. I'd also like to see more positive representation of disabilities in the media. So, for example, a lot of stories about disability are negative or are inspiration porn. But disabled people are multifaceted beings, you know. Our lives are just as complex as non-disabled people. So I like to see more disabled people in rom-coms, for example, or action films, not always stuff about how our lives are difficult